Okay, welcome everybody to today's preview of the upcoming Social Security and Medicare workshop. This is a 4-day virtual workshop that is running from May 8th through the 11th. So that is next week, starting right on Monday. If you want to go ahead and learn more about the workshop, there's still time for you to sign up. You can do so by going to horsesmouth.com/ssvirtual. And for those of you in Zoom, I put that link to the chat. And if you're watching the live stream, you can find the link in the description beneath the player. So in today's preview, Elaine Floyd, the leader of the workshop, is joining Horses Mouth's editor-in-chief, Sean Bailey, to talk about what she'll be covering during what she and he will be covering during the fourth day of the workshop and why it matters for advisors and their clients. So that includes session 6, transitioning to Medicare, and session 7, building your business around savvy Social Security planning. So Sean, over to you.
Doug, thanks for that. Everybody, welcome. Elaine, good to see you here again. Looking forward to the workshop next week. The link is in the chat there. If anybody's looking now, you can click through and get signed up. We're going to talk a minute about why it's so important to your business overall, especially if you're in a growth mode with pre-retirees and retirees. But first, we're going to talk about Medicare, a topic that, many advisors know little about, much less than Social Security, and yet they manage many aspects of their clients' pre-retirement and retirement lives. But the health insurance aspect of it is something advisors don't really want to or like to be involved. Now, there's some people who absolutely that's not the case. They have somebody on the staff who's licensed to sell Medicare and that sort of thing. But every advisor really ought to know about Medicare in terms of the kinds of problems and mistakes that people can make when they transition from their work lives into Medicare. So Elaine, you and I have discussed this topic many times over the years, but let's tick off a few things. Why is it so important for advisors to, be aware that their clients are about to step on a booby trap?
Yeah, that's it. Their clients are about to step on a booby trap and they don't know it. And, advisors can very easily spare them, from the mistakes. The mistakes primarily are coverage gaps. So they come off their employer insurance. They haven't signed up for Medicare. They don't have health insurance. That is the big thing. And then number 2, paying too much for their health care. And so these are the things that advisors can really help them with at the time that they retire. People don't understand that in this country, there is a whole separate, different health insurance system for people age 65 and older who are not working. Now, because so many people turn 65 and are still working, it's like nothing changes. Well, it's fine. They can keep their employer insurance if they're 65 and still working. But once they retire, or if there's somebody who retired before age 65, once they turn 65, everything changes in the health insurance world. And there are specific actions that people have to take. They have to be proactive about it. And most people they're not aware of this. They're taking care of all of the other aspects of their retirement, their rollovers and, creating their budgets and all of those things. And they just don't think about health insurance. And this is something that advisors, by having a little bit of knowledge in this area, will know to bring it up, to put it on their retirement checklist, and to help clients, make the right moves at the right time.
Right. And also there is the issue, I think, of not enrolling in a timely manner and then being hit with penalties too.
Yes.
Is that part of it?
Yes, that's part of it too. Not only the coverage gaps, but if you don't enroll on time and you go more than 12 months without enrolling in Medicare. Medicare operates like any health insurance system in that they don't want you waiting until you're sick to sign up. And so they have a requirement that you have to be continuously covered by insurance. If it's not employer insurance, then it better be Medicare. So if you come off your employer insurance and you don't sign up for Medicare and you go more than 12 months, and we've seen cases of this where people have gone, at one of our workshops, one of the attendees said that his mother was in her 80s, did not have any health insurance, and went to sign up and was slapped with extraordinary penalties. it's 10% of the Part B premium for every 12 months that you go without insurance. And that can really add up for people. So yeah, it's big.
Yeah. And also, I guess there's the issue of, I've, seen and heard of cases where sometimes there is some sort of Medicare coverage offered by the employer to the client, the employee,
Right.
but it's not very good, or it's a little confusing. Unfortunately, it seems that sometimes people just are so locked in mentally that the company has treated them well all these years. Surely what they're saying they're doing for me relating to Medicare and retirement is the best approach, but sometimes it's not. Is that right? Something like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is a relatively new phenomenon where it used to be a person would retire. Well, okay. In the olden days, these generous employers, lifetime employers, would offer retiree insurance. So a person would have their employer insurance while they were working, they would retire. Some form of that insurance would continue for the rest of a client's life. And there are still some employers that offer this, especially some like state and local government agencies, will offer this. More then it came the period where employers would just say, okay, you're on your own. You're retiring, your employer insurance is going to stop as of this date. And we don't care what happens to you after that. So there's that. And that's still in effect for, a lot of people. Now, the insurance companies are seeing a bonanza in retirees, especially the younger, healthier retirees. And so they are approaching the employers and offering to cover retirees with a Medicare Advantage plan. And so the employers are offering this to their retirees, and it's sort of presented in the form of just, continue what you've got. You've got good health insurance. Let's just keep that going. And there are, though, some serious structural problems with, or can be, with Medicare Advantage plans. And it's a little bit of a dangerous setup. And we talk about this at the workshop.
Yeah, I know here in the New York metropolitan area, the New York City retirees, New York City employee retirees had a very good plan for years. And I believe the city paid for the supplement, the Medigap supplement. But now, out of the clear blue, they've come and rammed through, pushing them over existing retirees, pushing them over onto Medicare Advantage. And there's been a huge uproar about that. People aren't happy because what advisors need to understand. Let's talk about it, need to understand the difference of Medicare Advantage actually isn't Medicare, isn't it? Could you right. That's what
that's right
out there.
Yeah. It's not Medicare, but better. It's like different from Medicare. So we talk about this in the workshop. So
right.
It's something that definitely advisors need to be on alert for. They need to know, for every client that they have, what are you doing for health insurance after you retire, period. Right. And then help them, in whatever way they need help.
Yeah, so I think that is the advantage of an advisor coming to the workshop and getting schooled up on this. Debbie Taylor talks about when she went to law school, she was taught a concept called issue spotting, that a legal case is presented to them with all the facts and everything, and they're taught to kind of go through and identify the key issues. And in a way, what we're saying is that we don't, the advisor doesn't need to know all the who shot John of every single plan that's offered in their area or anything like that. But what they do need to do is to be able to issue spot around what their client's situation is going into retirement and health insurance, and be able to point out where there are potential problems or booby traps, as I said, that people may step on or slip into or be bamboozled by. Including a lot of the TV ads that are out there with Joe Namath and Fran Tarkington pushing Medicare Advantage all the time. But so that's good.
Yeah.
Well,
So I wanted to ask you, Sean, because we present all this information at the workshop to advisors and fill their heads, and they get to take workbooks home. So, or they're already in their home actually when they're attending the workshop, but we leave them with a good supply of references so that, they're not going to hold it all as, when the workshop's over, but they know where to go to get the answers. Okay. And we present this information for two reasons. One is so that advisors can be better advisors to their clients, to their existing clients. Once they have this information, they often, get on the phone when they get back to their office and start, talking to clients about Social Security or Medicare or some of these other things. The other reason, though, is that it presents a good opportunity for advisors to go out and educate people on these subjects in an attempt to reach new prospects, reach new people and build their business. So in the second part of the fourth day, Sean, is when you come on and talk about how advisors can build their business using this knowledge. So you want to say a little bit about that, what
Sure.
Some of the things you cover and some of the questions that come up during that session?
Yeah. So, the key aspect of that is that, we're huge proponents at Horse's Mouth around what we call education marketing. And I refer to advisors as, from a marketing perspective in your community, to position yourself as a financial educator, because whether it's Social Security or Medicare, IRA planning, taxes, long-term care, estate planning, even college planning, these are serious, important retirement issues that the public, despite the explosion of personal finance information in the last 30 years, they're just, they're knowledgeable and dangerous in some cases, or they've not paid attention to it. They're just not interested. And so, but as the mind is focused on a future retirement and the public starts to realize, I've paid off the house, we've sent the kids to college, I've maxed out my 401k. But now I'm going into retirement and I'm looking forward to living the full life in retirement. But boy, all this stuff I don't really know much about, and I want to be sure I'm doing the right things about, optimizing my Social Security and or my spouse's Social Security, making the right decisions about Medicare, understanding the role that taxes play in retirement, and is there really such a thing as tax-free retirement, or how can I lower my taxes? What's the role of Roth IRAs? It's like so much out there, right? And this is where there is a tremendous opportunity for advisors. And so in the Social Security Medicare workshop, I spend some time talking about, the different tactics that advisors use to be financial educators in their community and go to market with a strategy of not just educating their clients, but also going out into the community and educating the public so that they have the opportunity to meet new prospects and, invite them in for a discussion.
One of the questions that advisors have, a big question, is how to get people in a room, how to get attendees. And I know that a big part of your presentation is about that. And you also draw upon experience of advisors that have been through our program that are very, very successful workshop givers, shall we say. Yep. Sometimes it's called a workshop, sometimes it's called a seminar, sometimes it's called a class, whatever you call it, to get people into a room, either live or, in person or virtually, and then present the material. This is, an opportunity to educate people. And there are many, many different ways to do this, right? Yep. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, one of the things is that, you've created a great presentations. You've had, I think the Social Security program has 7 different presentations that you've created over the years and updated them. And there's the one lead one that we've kind of really optimized for advisors to educate the audience and really pique their interest around, some critical things like coordinating the spousal benefits, understanding divorce and survivor benefits. And so one of the things we do is we step through this main presentations. We spend about half an hour stepping through it and kind of letting the advisor know about critical points in the delivery of this presentation that are reinforcing key points that will ultimately drive an attentive listener to accept your invitation to come in for a one-on-one meeting and have a Social Security analysis. And I'm going to throw this back to you just for a minute, Elaine, because you have been developing these amazing software, claiming software all these years. And the last couple of years, we've been ranked top rated among advisors for satisfaction. And one of the things, of course, educating the public is all about getting them back into the office so that you can do an analysis. Can you just talk a tiny bit about the calculator suite and what role that plays both in the workshop and just overall as an advisor?
Oh gosh, the calculator suite is just pivotal to the whole process, because so it starts with, from the client's point of view. Let's say the client sees some sort of invitation or flyer or email or something that invites them to a workshop or a seminar on the subject of Social Security, let's say. Okay, so they come, they attend, they get all this information that they didn't have before. Excuse me, I have to clear my throat. And then, and part of the presentation talks about claiming strategies and claiming scenarios. So, depending on your age, depending on your marital status, there's going to be, a different claiming strategy for you, right? So during the workshop, the advisor holds up a copy of the report and says, come to my office, make an appointment, come in, I will give you complimentary report. And it takes just a couple of pieces of information from the client. It's very non-threatening from the client standpoint. All the advisor needs is their birth date and their primary insurance amount off of their Social Security statement, and then some estimate of their life expectancy. And they can put this into the calculator, and it comes out with this beautiful report showing, all the different, not all, but many different claiming scenarios. And then they sit down with the client and they discuss, and then they segue into, the rest of their retirement plans. And I mean, it's just the most, it's just a beautiful way to do it. That's all I can say.
It's hugely powerful. And I'm glad that you mentioned in your presentation to kind of hold up and show the audience a copy of the personalized Social Security analysis. They get using the software that comes with the program, it comes with the workshop, because when I'm doing the business development piece after you finish on the fourth day, we go through, I think, like 25 business development principles that we've teased out of dozens and dozens of case studies we've done over the years. And these are very specific things you ought to keep in mind either as you're getting ready to organize putting on an event, whether it's in person or virtual, or things you need to keep in mind as you're delivering the event and coming out of it. And so one of the things when you said about holding a copy of the Social Security analysis report up in the air so that the people in the audience can see it, live or virtual, is that advisors who have done that, have made the point that, look, people come to these events, they bring any variety of history and baggage about other kinds of free events they've gone to during the course of their life. And so there's, some level of anxiety and resistance that the public has because they don't know you, but they're interested in Social Security. You maybe sent them a lovely invitation in the mail, or it's something you saw on social media and you want to do it. A person looks honest, you want to come to the event and you're hearing it. But now there's this idea of being invited to a one-on-one meeting, whether it's in person or virtual, and people still have that baggage of resistance. And so one of the things that we talk about in terms of the business development principles is what are the things you can do to make people feel more relaxed, lower the anxiety, and increase their levels of confidence in you. And one of them is at some point is, first of all, never springing on them at the end of your presentation that you're inviting them in for this one-on-one meeting. You mentioned that at the beginning. You mentioned it a few more times during the presentation. You hold up that report and you do it at the end. And by holding up the report, what you're doing is you're helping them visualize in their mind, oh, okay, what is this meeting with Elaine going to be like? What is going to happen there? And when you can make it concrete for them, they can see in their mind's eye, what it's going to be like, they begin to feel like they want it, and they can feel more comfortable about it, so that anxiety and resistance starts to melt away. And so in the business development portion of the program, we go through these principles that we have discovered over the years. And they're also, they don't apply just to Social Security and Medicare. They apply to financial education more broadly as well. And by next week, we'll be out with some information as an aside that this summer we're having a special 8-week financial educator marketing coaching program where people can become a master member and work with our whole team, Doug Pierce and Devin Kropp and Chris Hallman and myself. We're going to go through an 8-week period, meeting 90 minutes a week, plus office hours later. And we're just going to go through everything that you need to know to launch your own financial educator marketing strategy starting this fall, drive you all the way through strongly to the end of the year. And the plan carries over on into 2024. Oh, it's really going fast, Elaine. And so anyway, I just wanted to tell people that some of the things we're discussing at the tail end of the presentation are, foundational to this bigger program that we're going to be introducing next week about getting your whole financial educator strategy going, because it is just a fantastic way to build your business. There couldn't be a better time to do it. The tail end of the baby boom. Anybody who's ever seen me at any of the other openings of any of our workshops, I've been talking about this boomer spike, this peak 65, this wave of boomers that's comes through at the tail end of the baby boom. Almost 12,000 born per day, 21% bigger than when we started Savvy Social Security back in 2008, when it was just actually, those people turning 62 that year were just a hair under 10,000 births per day. Anyway, it's going to be a great time. We hope everybody can be there, and we look forward to it. So thanks so much, Elaine, for being here. Everybody, we'll see you next week, and we'll see you down the road. So take care and thanks.